Hello there, my name is Kevin and this is the first in a tutorial series on HTML. In this tutorial series I'm going to be explaining HTML from the very bottom up. Instead of diving straight away into coding, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover the theoretical aspects of HTML first. So if you're like me when I was first starting out web design, you might be asking yourself the very same question. What is HTML? Why is it useful? How do we use it? These are the questions we're going to be answering in this tutorial series. So let's get started. And HTML, to begin with, it stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Now, I know what you're thinking. Still clueless, yeah? I mean, that means absolutely nothing to you, and I wouldn't blame you. It means very little to me either. But if we just move on here, we'll see markup. What we mean by markup is we're calling HTML a markup language. What this means is we mark up a web page using a series of HTML tags. Now, tags are something we're going to go into a bit more detail in a later part of this tutorial series. But for now, we'll just skip past that. But what this means for HTML is, and it's something you would be surprised about, is HTML, it's not a programming language. So this was something I was kind of shocked to learn about HTML, because when I was first beginning to learn HTML, I had presumed that all computer languages were programming languages, because I didn't really know that much about programming or computer coding, so I just presumed HTML was a programming language, but that's not the case. As we said before, HTML is a markup language, and that markup language marks up web pages using a program called web browsers. Okay, so we're all familiar with web browsers. I have a little sketch here of the Chrome web browser, which is my favorite web browser. I didn't sketch the other ones because they're too hard to draw. But web browsers are the program which interprets the HTML. So this means, as we said before, that HTML is the markup language for the web browser. In other words, it's the web language that we use to design the websites. So it's kind of a design or a structural language. You know, and here's just an example of a web browser with loads of little boxes in it, and that's basically what HTML is. It uses boxes. It uses a box model. Now, alone, HTML can be quite dull and boring. You know, you can only really create fairly basic websites with HTML alone. Now, you can obviously create a fancier website than the one I have here using just HTML, but you know, you get the message. HTML, it's boring on its own, right? So what we do is we combine it with other languages to make the websites look better. So, you know, we can have more modern looking websites like this one here with loads of pictures, search boxes, you know, embedded polls and videos and different sections of the site and links to our social profiles using really nice, you know, circular instead of square buttons, and yeah, all that kind of good stuff. And we do this using PHP and CSS and CSS3 and JavaScript. And these are all languages that mean absolutely nothing to you right now because you're only learning HTML. But it's good to see where we're going with this. You know, HTML is the foundation of web design. And these are the languages that in the future, hopefully, you will be getting to terms with. Now, there are many versions of HTML. We refer to it as HTML, but the current version of HTML is actually called HTML5. And this new version, it's kind of a more streamlined version of HTML. It's added in a lot of things like animations, transitions, more things. Obviously then HTML was the first version. And we also had other ones like XHTML, which is kind of a step towards HTML5. But that about does it for this tutorial, the very first tutorial in the series. In the next tutorial, I'll be asking the question, why HTML? I mean, why do we use HTML? So, you know, have a think about that question for now. You know, why do we use HTML when we could just use English? Or, you know, why don't we just draw pictures of what we want our websites to look like and do it that way? You know, so have a think about that yourselves. You know, why don't we do that? And why do we use HTML? Or why don't we use other computer languages? And that's what we'll address in the next tutorial. But for now, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. If you did, leave a like on the video. It really helps out a lot. If you have any questions at all, leave them in the comments below. I'll try answer them as best as I can, or maybe somebody else will pick up on them. So if you are interested in seeing more tutorials from me, subscribe to the channel and that way you won't miss another video update. Thanks for watching, and until next time, bye bye.